How does a woman bragging at a family dinner about sleeping with others end up standing in a courthouse lobby as a server names her aloud? Why did everyone laugh with me first and then step back when paperwork arrived? What happens when the quiet husband you mocked decides to do everything strictly by the book? My name is Undine Trellis, and I narrate my bold disaster. I am 33, a customer success coordinator who collects attention like trophies. I married Aaron Layton, a patient science teacher who dislikes public scenes. I told friends our marriage needed freedom because my growth required experiments. I called it ethical exploration, not cheating, but he called it disrespect. I said jealousy was small, he suggested counselling before announcements at dinner. I preferred the spotlight and planned a dramatic confession over shared appetizers. My mother promised applause. His mother warned gently about ordinary kindness. I practiced lines with Amaya, curating captions and angles for later. Jasper messaged compliments at midnight. I framed them as professional encouragement. Aaron noted boundaries, calendars, and mugs placed apart like quiet borders. He minimized screens when I entered, saying organization helped difficult conversations. I scheduled posts defending freedom, rehearsing lines about brave modern love. I believed 10 partners would confirm wisdom, not expose terrible selfishness. I did not expect paperwork to answer louder than applause and theories. At dinner, I framed limits as control and exploration as kindness toward myself and progress. Aaron stayed calm, said he would handle matters properly, and avoided every scene afterwards. Morning light smeared the kitchen tiles while the kettle sighed and rattled. I arranged 2 mugs far apart, like borders drawn by polite diplomats. Aaron entered quietly, noticing the distance, and asked about my late messages. I said deadlines chased me, and Jasper encouraged excellence during stressful quarters. He said encouragement was fine, but boundaries mattered even when ambitions sparkled. I called boundaries outdated, a cage for women who fear their brilliance. He suggested counselling, something gentle, before any showy speeches at family dinner. I said therapy could wait, growth needed stages, cameras, and brave language. He looked tired, then carefully placed my mug near the sink. I practiced lines in notes, polishing verbs until they glowed like trophies. Amaya sent fire emojis, urging humour and promising edits for maximum reach. My mother texted hearts, repeating freedom while warning not to appear cruel. May left a voicemail, soft and steady, asking if everything felt all right. I deleted it unopened, because worry spreads when you water it. I set the table perfectly, aligning forks like soldiers awaiting inspection. Aaron's watch buzzed. A calendar tile flashed downtown 6:30 p.m. tonight. He dismissed it quickly, then wiped crumbs, moving deliberately and very calmly. I noticed a sticky note on the fridge reading, "Bring forms, please." I assumed school errands. He often helped families navigate paperwork kindly. He opened the hallway desk, then locked the drawer when I approached. I laughed lightly, saying secrets were childish. He said, "Privacy protected peace." I scrolled Jasper's messages, saving compliments, deleting anything that seemed needy. Aaron brewed tea, placed his mug far away, and measured silence. I told him my talk would educate everyone about consent and courage. He said, "Education without empathy becomes cruelty with prettier words and lighting." I replied, empathy includes letting me explore without him playing vigilant warden. He asked why the mugs kept drifting apart. I said symmetry photographs better. He nodded, then circled a date on the planner with red. I asked the reason. He said organization helps when months become chaotic. I opened our gallery, hiding a photo that showed Jasper's close shoulder. Aaron looked at the balcony plants, counting leaves like small private prayers. I rehearsed an opener. "I love you, but curiosity needs air." Then a closer. "Rules must flex or break. My heart prefers flexing." Amaya pinged a draft caption, suggesting sparkle and softening words around impact. I sent a mirror selfie, promising fireworks tonight at dinner. Nora replied with hearts, saying brave women lead families into modern love. May texted Aaron privately. He answered with a single polite thumbs up. I ironed a dress, bright enough to dazzle relatives and silence doubters. Aaron checked the hallway shelf, sliding a thin binder labelled utilities. It looked too thick for bills. I pretended not to notice. He set separate towels in the bathroom, folded with measured edges. I told him distance made drama. He said distance prevented damage instead. We ate cereal quietly, spoons clicking like metronomes keeping civilized tempo. I asked him to smile tonight. He said courtesy would suffice. I practiced my thesis again, calling monogamy small, calling curiosity generous. He rinsed dishes, then opened windows, letting cooler air dilute perfume. I added bullet points about ethics, agreements, calendars, and respectful disclosure. He asked if disclosure would include his feelings. I said eventually, yes. He said feelings first, frameworks second. I said frameworks enable feelings later. He stared at the guest room, then carried his pillow inside. I rolled my eyes, calling it petty theatre. He kept breathing steadily. He put on headphones, called someone softly, and paced the hallway. I recorded a rehearsal video smiling like a host selling freedom. Then I captioned it. Curiosity heals marriages. Fear suffocates honest hearts. The printer coughed again. Aaron removed a blank sheet without comment. I packed my lipstick expecting applause, not spreadsheets, at dinner tonight. He closed the guest door softly, leaving me with my rehearsed bravery. My phone lit with Jasper's praise, then dimmed as notifications slowed. A new message preview appeared from private before vanishing without trace. An unknown caller vibrated again as the guest room latch clicked decisively shut. I reached the office early, chasing silence before the day judged me. Open plan light washed the desks, and keyboards ticked like tiny clocks. Amaya waved, asking about dinner plans and whether captions needed polishing again. I said momentum mattered, and family respect followed fearless women leading first. Jasper arrived with coffee, praising my quarterly numbers and my contagious confidence lately. He stood close and colleagues pretended printers were fascinating, not our proximity. I told myself attention meant influence, and influence meant security against judgment. Priya from HR hovered briefly, then returned to her glass room thoughtfully. Slack buzzed with jokes about open frameworks, which I pretended was supportive banter. Amaya posted a boomerang of me laughing, with lightning stickers and hearts. I checked Aaron's story, showing sunlight on lesson plans and tidy lab beakers. He uploaded nothing else, just quiet photos like steady breathing between responsibilities. I opened our shared album and glimpsed a spreadsheet with initials and dates. The columns looked neat, and each row had careful times and descriptions. I told myself teachers love lists, and lists help tidy complicated feelings. Jasper leaned on my desk, asking about travel, then mentioning flexible relationship models. I answered growth demands, brave experiments, and partners who trust courageous research phases. He nodded politely, voice low, mentioning optics and the review cycle timing. Priya pinged my calendar, requesting a quick word about boundaries and workplace chatter. I told Amaya HR they feared strong women, then added glitter to tonight's script. In the HR room, Priya asked about mixed signals and late-night messages. I said deadlines ignore clocks, and camaraderie improves performance across distributed teams. She said optics matter, especially when supervisors and subordinates appear unusually close. I said rumors punish bright women. She suggested clarity, documentation, and consistent professionalism. Leaving HR, I posted a selfie captioned, "Leadership means honesty, not outdated control." Amaya sent a draft carousel titled Education, Freedom, Consent, Partnership, and Growth. I approved the order, adding a slide about kindness during transitions. Jasper reacted with a flame, then stopped responding when Priya walked past. A co-worker whispered that my feed felt risky before family dinner headlines. I said families adapt when given language, structure, and cheerful explanations. Emails stacked like cards. I batted them aside while editing tonight's lines. Aaron texted about dinner time. I replied I might run late. He answered with a thumbs up, which I read as quiet surrender. I told Amaya Aaron feared change. She said some people fear humiliation more. I assured her our dinner would model healthy negotiation, not messy chaos. The printer rattled. Someone cursed. Laughter broke the aisle's stiff posture. I checked the break room. 2 mugs stood apart like home's quiet borders. My stomach flipped, then steadied under the fluorescent halo and humming vents. Back at my desk, I found a thin binder labelled Utilities. It looked thicker than bills, with coloured tabs and careful sticky flags. I decided Aaron over-prepared because anxiety loves binders and careful plastic sleeves. Jasper invited me to the terrace for air and quick planning. We stood near planters. He asked whether Aaron truly supported everything. I said support would follow once relatives heard my clear, loving thesis. He mentioned cautious distance for optics, then praised my composure under scrutiny. We re-entered. Priya watched us cross. Amaya sent me a winged heart sticker. A Slack thread debated consent rhetoric, tagging my post with clapping emojis. I felt heat under my collar, which I called righteous energy. Aaron's watch share pinged on my phone, showing meeting personal 2:10 p.m. I dismissed the alert, deciding he scheduled therapy to fix jealousy. Amaya asked if Jasper would attend dinner. I said probably not tonight. She said absences change readings. I said narratives are mine to arrange. A co-worker asked whether Aaron was comfortable. I answered he admired my bravery. Another asked if I worried about reputational spillover. I laughed and pivoted. We rehearsed a softer opener, framing exploration as mature, careful, and generous. I practiced a line about calendars, agreements, and regular check-ins for safety. Amaya reminded me to smile after heavy statements, so audiences breathe easier. I approved a micro-reel teaser scheduled exactly 2 hours before appetizers. It used rooftop footage from last quarter, trimmed to suggest evolving ideas. Jasper reacted with a check mark, then disappeared into a conference pod. I told myself leaders vanish sometimes because pressure rearranges their available minutes. At lunch, I ate quickly, computing applause like probable weather across relatives. May texted Aaron again. My screen showed only his quiet reply delivered. Nora sent me crowns, insisting doubters always become admirers after good speeches. I finalized slides for my private folder titled Dinner Script Polished. A cloud sync pop announced file uploaded successfully, which felt like a rehearsal drum. Returning from the restroom, I glimpsed Jasper avoiding Priya near the elevators. He ducked into a stairwell, and I pretended not to notice anything. Back at my desk, the utilities binder had shifted closer to my keyboard. I pushed it aside, keeping eyes on captions, thumbnails, and timing. Amaya messaged that tagged photos from the last party started trending again. Several comments asked about Aaron's expression. I said he prefers quiet settings. A co-worker called my name, saying the manager wanted a minute immediately. He stood by the glass doors, gesturing gently, while notifications exploded. The manager asked for a quick word as tagged photos started pinging. I swallowed hard, smiled brightly, and prepared to double down at dinner. The rooftop bar smelled like citrus peels and grill smoke under string lights. Amaya adjusted my jacket, reminding me to sparkle and keep breathing steadily. I told her confidence multiplies when a room expects answers from you. She said phones were ready and captions would be queued for publishing. Jasper waved from the corner, then drifted away when HR staff arrived. He said optics mattered, and distance protected both brands during noisy seasons. I replied growth required courage, and courage sometimes looked like friendly proximity. He smiled thinly, nodded, and retreated toward the potted palms by elevators. Colleagues gathered near the railing, chanting for a toast with teasing rhythm. I raised my glass, promising wisdom about modern love and honest curiosity. The city flickered around us like another audience waiting to approve bravely. I opened with gratitude, calling Aaron patient, practical, and sometimes painfully cautious. Laughter rose, but some faces tightened as I shifted toward my doctrine. I outlined calendars, agreements, and safety checks like I was teaching class. Someone recorded close, phone lifted, lens reflecting my grin in sharp miniature. I described exploration as education, not betrayal, and applause flared politely. A co-worker near HR whispered that compassion should outrun ambition during experiments. I said courage creates space where old rules refuse to evolve. Another co-worker asked whether spouses felt small under big speeches about freedom. I answered that love expands and shrinking is a personal choice, not inevitable. The crowd hummed, split between cheers, frowns, and people pretending to sip. Amaya filmed steadily, mouthing reminders to smile after heavy claims about boundaries. Jasper reappeared briefly, clinked a glass, then faded when cameras hunted him. I said monogamy sometimes protects laziness, while exploration confronts selfish comfort bravely. Someone laughed hard, someone else looked toward the stairwell with weary disbelief. I framed Aaron as supportive overall, though nervous about public language tonight. An intern asked whether support meant permission for multiple partners simultaneously or sequentially. I answered pilots test several routes before choosing the safest permanent flight. The intern nodded uncertainly, then checked Priya's expression through the glass doors. I leaned harder into charisma, promising kindness, calendars, and transparent communication logs. Phones hovered like moths, and wind pulled napkins across the patio stones. Amaya sent a thumbs up, then typed that the angle looked perfect. I lifted my chin, savouring the charge of command and certainty. The chant for another toast began as more friends streamed from elevators. I offered a second speech, sweeter, painting Aaron as tradition's careful guardian. This time I said guardians sometimes block gates they never needed to block. Several laughed, several stared, several pretended to admire skyline reflections in silence. From the back, Aaron arrived late, carrying a simple box, standing apart. He greeted colleagues quietly, then faced the lights like weather he already expected. I waved toward him, telling the room respect guided our complicated experiment. He nodded once, placed the box by a candle, and stepped away. I told myself distance meant strategy, not hurt, and continued my lesson. Aaron moved to the far railing, putting headphones on with steady hands. He held his phone low, speaking softly, eyes on traffic below. A calendar tile flashed briefly on his watch, reading downtown 4:05 p.m. He dismissed it with a small tap, then continued measuring breaths carefully. Jasper watched Aaron, then looked at me, then studied the floor tiles. I kept smiling, insisting growth always looks messy before becoming normal later. Someone near HR asked whether Aaron had truly agreed to everything yet. I answered that consent was ongoing, fluid, and shaped by generous communication cycles. The crowd rustled, unsure whether encouragement or concern should lead their expressions. I switched tone, telling a story about trust born from brave discomfort. Amaya whispered that comments were exploding and several tags already trended upward. I said good, because education needs friction and witnesses to spread properly. Aaron lifted his phone camera, photographed a screen reflection, then lowered it. He typed something, paused, and saved whatever he was building quietly. I felt heat on my neck, called it righteous wind, not fear. Gideon arrived late, grinning, promising a dinner reel that would shake opinions. He said relatives adored brave confessions, especially when dessert arrived with fireworks. I told him dessert would taste like progress, not guilt or apology. May entered with a neighbour, saw Aaron standing alone, and tightened her jaw. I pretended not to notice May, then brightened my tone deliberately. The chant for another toast rose louder, the crowd urging me onto centre. I declared myself a pioneer, a woman refusing cages of small expectations. A few clapped hard, others considered exits, eyes drifting toward stair signs. Jasper raised his hand, then lowered it, then checked his notifications distractedly. Priya stood near the door, neutral, like a lighthouse measuring moving fog. Aaron pocketed a small object, maybe a drive, maybe folded notes. He spoke briefly with Tomas, who had appeared near the service hallway. Thomas nodded, listening, then tapped his own phone with deliberate patience. I described the dinner plan, promising gentle language and celebratory compromise proposals. May's expression asked for grace. Nora's future texts already cheered imagined applause. I closed with a line about courage tasting like freedom, not failure. Amaya signaled perfectly, then pivoted her phone toward Aaron's still profile. He turned slightly, neither smiling nor frowning, simply present and very contained. The second toast chant peaked again, urging me to raise my glass higher. I lifted it, grinning, while a stranger's camera flash detonated white. The elevator doors slid open behind Aaron, bright as a second stage. He stepped inside calmly, headphones still on, eyes clear and unhurried. The flash hung in the air, freezing my grin like polished glass. The doors closed on his reflection, and the room exhaled confused silence. We booked the family restaurant's long table, bright murals stretching above chatter. I arrived early, arranging place cards like chess pieces before a match. Nora hugged me loudly, promising applause for bravery and modern thinking tonight. May greeted me gently, asking whether we could keep everything kind. Aaron came last, carrying a small box, standing calm near the end. Gideon unpacked his camera, saying relatives loved honest content with good lighting. Amaya slid into a side seat, whispering captions and timing for uploads. I rehearsed my thesis, smoothing words until they sounded merciful and enlightened. The server poured water, and cutlery clicked like small metronomes disciplining nerves. I introduced the theme, saying marriages grow stronger when curiosity meets consent. Nora nodded proudly, saying freedom makes women radiant even during difficult transitions. May watched Aaron's quiet face, asking whether everyone felt heard and respected. I said respect guided everything, even when models changed for better transparency. Aaron thanked the server, saying he appreciated calm rooms without spectacle during stress. I announced my decision to leave because he refused consensual exploration. The table tilted towards silence, while Gideon kept rolling to capture reactions. I framed the 10 partners as learning, not betrayal, just structured education. Nora squeezed my hand, saying pioneers always suffer misunderstandings before admiration arrives. May folded her napkin, saying kindness must not vanish under clever slogans. Aaron said boundaries mattered, and therapy should precede announcements and experiments. I told the group his fear blocked our potential and my growth. Gideon asked for a smile. I smiled like a polished presenter. Amaya messaged the first carousel and scheduled tags for maximum reach. Several cousins exchanged looks, unsure whether applause or concern should lead. I ordered appetizers, saying celebration heals awkwardness and proves mature communication. May asked if leaving meant no room for gentler conversation and patience. I answered that calendars and agreements had already been offered without cooperation. Aaron listened quietly, then requested peace at the table for everyone. Nora announced a toast, praising fearless daughters and their unstoppable futures today. Glasses lifted, some clinked hard, some hovered in undecided, careful fingers. I described how freedom would eventually make me kinder to future commitments. May asked whether kindness included not humiliating a partner in public. I said discomfort was temporary, and growth required friction witnessed by the community. The entrees arrived steaming, distracting everyone from the moral lecture briefly. Aaron pushed a plate toward May, asking if she preferred extra vegetables. I said he performed steadiness because he feared losing the narrative tonight. Gideon zoomed. Amaya typed that comments were already split between brave and reckless. I asked Aaron to confirm he understood my plan without resentment. He said he understood the words, not the disregard underneath them. May asked whether I wanted grace or simply attention disguised as philosophy. I answered that attention collects support, which builds safety for difficult lifestyle transitions. She said attention cannot replace fidelity, and sympathy cannot replace respect. A cousin cleared her throat, asking if Jasper would join the dessert toast. I said schedules clashed, and workplace optics suggested distance for now. Amaya looked down, then asked if HR had contacted me again lately. I said HR feared confident women, not impropriety, so everything was fine. The check arrived. Aaron placed his card calmly, refusing drama over payment. May thanked him softly, then asked if we could walk afterward together. We moved to the park where children swarmed slides and swings. Aaron knelt to retie a shoelace, smiling at a grateful parent. I narrated our philosophy to Gideon, calling the park a metaphor. Nora praised my clarity, saying critics would learn from our example soon. May watched the kids and asked me to lower my voice. I lowered it slightly, insisting teaching moments require steady volume for effect. Ivy ran up, beaming, then looked between Aaron and me with worry. She asked if husbands cry when wives say mean things online. The question sliced the air, and even birds quieted above branches. I said public education sometimes hurts feelings, but wisdom arrives later. Aaron said adults should use their words kindly, especially around children. Ivy frowned, then hugged Aaron, saying gentle people deserve gentle homes always. May's eyes glistened. Nora turned away, pretending to check her phone. We returned home, the balcony breathing cool river air against our faces. Inside, the guest bed looked disturbed, corners tucked with hotel precision. Aaron stacked binders labelled home, auto, and bank along the shelf. I said the binders felt theatrical. He said order prevents future confusion. A car idled outside facing the street, headlights steady like intention. His watch flashed a calendar tile reading downtown 10:40 a.m. tomorrow. He tapped it off, then placed a new key on his ring. I opened my phone, trimming clips to remove Aaron's tired expression. Amaya messaged that HR was watching stories, and the optics tightened around me. I said bravery scares institutions, so pressure only proves my importance. The laptop chimed a cloud sync message reading file uploaded successfully tonight. A phone alarm labelled paper drop flickered, then was quickly dismissed. May texted a prayer hands emoji, asking for softer words later. Nora posted crowns, writing that queens never negotiate with doubt ever. I rehearsed another caption, promising kindness after the necessary storm tonight. Ivy's question replayed anyway, stubborn as a pebble inside my shoe. The apartment settled. Humming, printer toner smell drifted faintly from the hall. I told myself discomfort means progress, and critics fear complicated truths. From the balcony, I watched streetlights tremble across the dark water. A cloud sync ping echoed inside, crisp as a gavel against glass. Ivy's painful question hung in the doorway as the notification flashed again. Morning found me early at the school pickup line, practicing public composure carefully. Cones and vests glowed while parents pretended traffic demanded complete attention today outside. Aaron and Thomas worked clipboards, signalling buses, checking tags with steady rhythm today. His clipboard showed only statement, written carefully above today's date and location marker. I said our reels educated people. He said procedures protected everyone waiting here. A mother asked about Jasper. I said adults manage complex landscapes respectfully together. A father muttered cruelty. I answered discomfort becomes wisdom with real commitment eventually. Aaron lifted the stop sign, counting arrivals like measured breaths between responsibilities patiently. Dismissal ended. His watch flashed downtown 12:25 p.m., then went dark again silently. He thanked Thomas, waved to children, and walked past me without commentary twice. I followed, rehearsing generosity, ready to demonstrate graceful leadership for observers nearby watching. At the trunk, binders labelled home, auto, bank sat squared precisely inside together. A thin utilities binder looked thicker, coloured flags peeking like orderly feathers everywhere. He slid a small envelope deeper and covered everything with a blanket carefully. He said errands awaited. I said dinner deserved civility and appreciative attention tonight. At the supermarket, whispers travelled aisles like stickers clinging to sleeves everywhere today. Amaya avoided producing, texting that HR watched stories and comments tightened today. I replied, bravery unsettles bureaucrats, She sent a worried face anyway back. Near the checkout, a neighbour asked whether Aaron seemed safe and respected lately. I said safety includes freedom, she said. Dignity belongs during disagreement also. Holmes smelled of lemon cleaner and faint printer toner drifting from the hallway. Aaron sat at the table, laptop open to patient, boring tabs again. I glimpsed storage options, delivery tracking and notaries near me grouped together. He minimized windows. I said transparency heals. He said privacy prevents escalation. A new key shone on his ring. Unfamiliar, plain, and deliberate today. 2 mugs waited apart, aligned like borders across our bright countertop again. The guest bed looked freshly smoothed, corners tucked with practiced hotel patience. A faint shredder hum started, then stopped, thin as distant insects outside. He opened a clean desktop showing Archive A and Archive B folders. A cloud sync pop announced file uploaded successfully, echoing like a gavel nearby. I offered a bargain. Delete reels, receive praise, and forgive quickly publicly. He said we would proceed carefully, and he would handle everything properly. I entered the courthouse lobby at noon, practicing my triumphant stride. Security asked my purpose, and I said I supported a meeting nearby. An elevator bell rang while people balanced salads and phones between elbows. Amaya texted about optics. I replied that optics usually follow winners. A man in a blazer approached, confirmed my name, and stayed professional. He introduced himself as a process server, then asked me to stand. He said service would happen here with witnesses and clear recorded time. He handed documents, divorce petition, temporary orders, and communication boundaries during proceedings. I insisted this was theatre, he explained documentation prevents theatre later on. A receptionist stopped typing. Pens hovered, murmurs moved across the atrium. Across the lobby, Aaron stood with Thomas, calm, and acknowledged service quietly. Security slid a sealed envelope toward me, containing a communications schedule copy. I started explaining context. The server said procedures outweighed context this afternoon. A CloudSync ping announced archive folders updated, and the elevators closed behind Aaron. Phones lifted discreetly. Someone nearby whispered that consequences finally replaced performances. I felt the packet's weight replace applause, heavier than rehearsed bravery. The server noted the time, thanked security, and left me standing with silence.